to what has changed since March of 2020, and how are we reclaiming our skill set. And I know we're going to have good experiences, and we're going to have not good experiences. We're going to have to get into a state where we're really not judging the experiences. We're just trying to work with what we have in front of us, and move through, hopefully, to something that looks like a new normal. Might not be the same normal we used to know. So I wanted to share with you, I'm going to share my screen, and like Alex said, feel free to interrupt me or ask questions or participate however you feel comfortable, chat. I wanted to share with you sort of an interesting paper I read, and just some of the highlights from that. And the paper is about how the past year has changed you and your organization. So I actually found it on the Harvard Business Review, which I don't read regularly, but it was a light lift. So I did read it. It's not that long, but I liked the way it framed the experience of the pandemic for people in the world. And I also liked how it could be applied to what we've experienced, I think, as singers and as singers in organizations that are now rebooting and trying to get back to something that feels more like us. So 18 months later, how has the past year and a half changed you and your members? And how has it changed your chorus and your organization? That's what we're going to think about a bit today. And then we're going to talk a bit about the vocal rebuilding process towards the end. So if you were to describe the past 18 months in a single word, what would you do? What would you say? How would you describe the impact or I don't know, how would you describe this last 18 months? Feel free to pop it in the chat or just say it, or
different, frustrating.
Different, frustrating, yeah. I feel like it's been a tedious, is that the right word? Probably. It's been an element of tedium to it, just that I think it's ending and it's not ending. Sad, discouraging, challenging. Yeah, all those things. And so disconnected. Yeah, definitely. Feeling disconnected. I feel that too. Yeah, so where do we go from here now that we're trying to get back and get connected again and get rehearsing? So I put the source here if you care to read through this little paper, but I'm pretty much going to walk you through it. So let's have a look. One of the things the writer talks about is the liminal experience. And I wasn't terribly familiar with the word liminal except how to say it. I didn't know what it meant. But liminal experience is a term they use in anthropology. And if I look it up in the dictionary, it's talking about transitions or being in between things. So I pulled a couple definitions out that I thought were interesting, relating to a transitional or initial stage of a process, occupying a position at or on both sides of a boundary or a threshold.
You're still tired?
So kind of in two places at once, between or belonging to two different places or states. So a liminality in anthropology, so the study of the human experience, describes the transitional phase experienced by a person during a rite of passage, a process of leaving behind an old identity and becoming something new. So that is the framework, I think, for the paper that she's writing. And the core characteristics of an experience like that, these might sound familiar to you. It involves a forced and prolonged separation from normal ways of being and doing. I mean, who would have thought March 2020 was going to change our singing lives so dramatically? And the change doesn't fully replace the old ways, but you don't fully lose them either. So it is both disturbingly different and confusingly similar. Does that resonate at all? Yeah. I mean, we were able to kind of limp along doing some of the things we used to do, but we had to do them in a new way, in a new environment. Obviously, we couldn't be together physically. We lost members, we lost leaders, we gained members, oddly, which is sort of the same and different, right? We auditioned people over Zoom. It's just, I don't know, who would have thought we'd have been doing this? Infrastructure things like rehearsal halls, performance opportunities, those things disappeared or changed, social opportunities. So the question is, when the liminal experience ends, what happens next? But those who emerge from a liminal experience, which we are doing right now, they return transformed. So we've been changed in lasting ways we may not understand. So I found the paper comforting because I thought, oh yeah, I feel all those things. And I don't understand exactly what it's going to look like as we move through the next phases, but it's comforting to think that this is a shared experience. It's the expression, misery loves company. So there are some benefits to these liminal experiences, these rites of passage or disturbing change in our lives. You know, we get to reflect, we get to discover, and we get to reinvent. And those are things we enjoy doing as humans. I think we need to be aware as we're returning that the pandemic has been a universal experience for us in the world, in our countries, in our provinces and states, in our cities, in our families. But it's also been a very individual experience. So individual paths will differ a lot. So in our chorus members, it's been a very different experience for each of them as well. And as leaders or as fellow chorus members, we need to be sensitive to that. Make that everyone's taken a different path. And as we emerge, culture starts to change because each of the persons returning to our organization is bringing a different perspective, a different experience. And so we are, if our perspectives have shifted, if things that we used to think were just the way things were are not that way anymore, then we're going to have some new ideas and new ways to process. So I think it's reasonable to expect that chorus life is maybe changed forever, and not necessarily in a bad way, but in some new ways that we've been exposed to over the last little while. So how do we emerge stronger? Should we try to recreate our pre-COVID culture? Or should we really look at where are the opportunities to incorporate some of the learnings that we've had over the past 18 months? So like I said earlier, singer expectations may have changed. I said in an earlier session, I was listening to a podcast about workers, why are we having such trouble finding truck drivers and, these supply chain issues and restaurant workers and landscapers, and people are reevaluating the way they used to spend their lives when everything got shut down. I know I work at home now. I used to go into the office at least 3 times a week, and now I do everything from home, and I'm feeling I will never go back to an office again, just because of where I am in my career, which is towards the end of it. But my expectations around my work life has certainly changed. Singer expectations around their chorus life may have changed as well. So I think we need to try to understand those things. And there are a lot of unanswered questions and uncertainties. So how, as leaders, are we going to respond to those? Culture is something we talk about in terms of our choruses, chorus culture. And what is our chorus culture? What are the sets of values and practices that we treasure as a chorus? And every chorus has its own culture, its own personality, its own way of interacting internally and externally. And when these expectations and shifts occur, then culture starts to shift as well. So I think that's something we need to be aware of, I guess, as we're heading back into our quartets and our choruses, that there's been some fundamental shifting in the last 18 months that we're going to have to try to understand, I think, and incorporate and flex a little bit around the way that we do business. So some thoughts around emerging is, and this is happening naturally, I think we're being forced to emerge gradually, just from the different discussions we've had, about where people are rehearsing, how often they're able to rehearse, whether you're masked or separated or not masked or vaccinated or not, or there's many reasons why we need to emerge gradually. But for the membership, for the psychology of all of us, what we've been through, we're going to have different ways that we want to emerge within a chorus of any size. Some people are going to want to get right back to normal. And what was your normal before? Was normal going from contest to contest to contest, that sort of ramp up the 2 songs, compete, and then do performances, and then get back into the 2 songs and compete? Or were you on like a regional international ramp? That one's pretty exhausting, and that's a lot of time commitment from members. Some members are going to be tired when they return, and some are going to wonder if they should be there at all. So you're going to have wildly different priorities, and I know you're already seeing this, because you're seeing the members who are straight back, all in at rehearsal, missed it so much, missed everything about the way it used to be. And you're seeing members who are maybe intermittent in their attendance, and you're seeing members who haven't shown up yet and are still either participating virtually or waiting for a time when they feel safe or they feel ready to engage again. And we're also seeing members maybe who have decided that they don't want to return to that pace. We need to reconcile those things. I think it's important that we give people time to, well, I think I read this in the paper and I agreed. People need time to integrate and reflect on what this means. And I'll bet that lots of you are having a lot of conversations around this, but have them as an organization, have them as a music team, have them as a chorus fireside chat, check in and see where people are in their heads, and then adjust your plans accordingly. A lot of choruses are coming back to, a 2-hour rehearsal, not a 3-hour rehearsal like we used to do. Maybe that is the new norm. Maybe we practice smarter and we take a little less time. Some choruses aren't coming back on weeknights, they're doing weekends. That's always been my fantasy schedule, but it's never been an option. As a working career person, there's like 6 o'clock. I just want to go home and do other stuff, but I would always go to chorus and always be up till 1 in the morning anyways, and always feel super energized after it was over, like getting myself out there. I thought, oh, wouldn't Sunday afternoon be better? But it isn't for everyone, again. But maybe there's opportunities to think about the way we always did things and how has this disruption given us a chance to reset. The second thing they encourage, the authors encouraged us to think about was, what are you going to keep and what are you going to toss when you come back? And we talked earlier about repertoire, but this is actually talking about everything, all your cultural practices, all your well, like I just said, the 3-hour rehearsal. Are you going to keep that? Is still something we need to do? Do we want to be competition focused, or do you want to be community focused, or vice versa? Do you want to consider open division this year when you never would have in the past, as a way to pull your repertoire back together? Do you I think everything is up for grabs, really. And there's always a time to strike when the iron is hot. There will be a period of time after this disruption that that is ripe for this kind of discussion. Because over time, as we get used to the new normal, then we'll kind of settle into our processes, and then it becomes a lot harder. It's like when you're a brand new leader or a brand new director, the time to make changes in your organization is right at the onset, gently maybe, or depending on what your impact wants to be, but where you want to make big changes, usually your opportunity is in that first 6 months. And then we become not complacent, but we become used to the way things are. The leader does, and the organization does. And it gets harder to make those big disruptive changes again. So thinking about this big disruption as an opportunity to reevaluate, I think is really important right now as well, and to accept that input from your members who have had those personal impacts. You know, one of the examples about in the article was the chat function, and I've noticed this too, because we've been forced onto Zoom for so many things, chorus rehearsals and these schools and everything. You heard a lot more from everybody in the chorus. It's kind of like it leveled the playing field for access to the director, access to the leadership, access to each other, in that when we're sitting in a chorus rehearsal, or for me, it's been things, well, I've been to Lionsgate's rehearsals, a few of them. I've been to other chorus rehearsals. I've been to judging school on Zoom. I've been to faculty meetings on Zoom, education direction committee meetings on Zoom. And the chat kind of makes, it's like another way of communicating with the group when you couldn't maybe be heard before because of the formality of the face-to-face, or even just when it's, you know, when there's no talking on the risers and there's, you know, 50 singers and one director, you can't talk on the risers, but hey, you can chat. And in fact, I mean, for Lionsgate, I know Sandy encourages the chat because that way she knows people are engaged and participating, right? So how do we retain the good things about the chat without having total chaos? How do we keep hearing from members that we didn't used to hear from maybe as much in the new order, in the new world? And maybe that means, you know, we're incorporating some Zoom into our future still. I know a lot of courses are alternating right now because they can't meet every week, or things go up and get shut down, but there are definitely things that happen during this time that were worth keeping. And if you think through your list of your pandemic experience, what would you keep? If you just off the top of your head, you put it in the chat or speak, whichever you prefer, what would you keep from the last 18 months, if you could? I would keep working from home if I could. I would keep comfortable shoes. I like those.
As Karen says, we never need to have a snow day.
I know that. I agree. Leadership team Zoom meetings. Yes, Nadine. Instead of traveling to someone's house in the dark, rainy night after you've worked all day. Yeah, or whatever you've done all day.
And she was even talking about rehearsals. We don't have to miss a rehearsal. We just move it to Zoom when we need to.
Yeah. Yeah, in Vancouver, we would usually miss 2 or 3 snow rehearsals. In Halifax, I'm sure it's even more. Yeah, and in the middle states in the United States as well, definitely. So, and what else did you keep? I could think of lots of things that are very keepable. Well, for me, being part of Region 1, as a chapter at large member, it was just sort of a paper thing for the first 2 years, but now I've met a whole bunch of people again, you know, and been able to participate in your events, and that's been that's been really cool for me. I'd like to keep that. Not that I want to keep it all on Zoom, but you know, that ability to connect is nice when distance is a barrier.
Then I would definitely keep online classes, because we had the opportunity to hear from people all over the world, and it's been fabulous.
Yeah, without all of the expense of a plane ticket and the disruption to the faculty person, like Britta Bonneville can come in and teach some vocal production. I mean, how cool is that? That,
Oh my God.
yeah. Watching faces as we perform, the connection with the region. Yeah, I think your region has done a really great job of connecting everybody through these events. Watching faces as we perform. So those virtual, well, yeah, the great equalizer of Zoom, everybody's got their own box. We're kind of all the same in Zoom, right? You can see all of your chorus mates while you're working together in a virtual rehearsal. So I like that a lot. And I also like that these virtual chorus projects that most choruses have tried to do at least one, it seems, you know, where you're singing, you have to record and listen to yourself. You know how we always resist doing that. But the educational value of those exercises, I'm not sure that those should go away, really. Not only that, but the keepsake of that recording, of that moment in time of you and your friends, and the opportunity to watch yourself as you perform and try to, I know I never take the first take when I do it. I always think, oh, I thought I was being animated, but I wasn't. Or I thought I was communicating with my eyes, but I'm not doing anything, you know? So I would record it again. The videos were easier once we separated them from the audios. In the very first project, we had to do the audio and the video together. Oh my gosh, that was hard. I liked it once we separated it. The audio I do probably 20 times. So awful. But I learn a lot while I do it. I think that's definitely keepable. Anything else you would keep? The things that we don't want to keep or the things we miss are probably more obvious, but what did you miss the most? I miss singing with my quartet the most. Wow.
Well,
On the other hand,
I miss not being afraid to get someone sick, or to I mean, I had COVID, but this always kind of feeling, what if somebody gets sick? What's
yeah,
next? I miss that. I miss just coming to rehearsal and going with the
Yeah.
flow.
and breathing on people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the parties and hugging and
Yeah.
exactly. Not
Uh,
worrying that.
I also miss working with people one-on-one. We've done a little bit of that in the garage, but it's not the same as, you know, you go in a separate room one-on-one and work with someone. It's very different when you're in a garage and you know you're just out of the way and people can probably still hear you, and it doesn't have the same
Yeah.
effectiveness.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the point here, the point here was of the things that we did think were effective in this 18-month period, as leaders, as members, I think we need to think about how do we hang on to some of these improvements, some of these things. You know, maybe it does make sense for management or music team to meet over Zoom. Maybe that's a little easier on everybody's energy and time commitments. Maybe it does make sense to do some visual work over Zoom. That's kind of fun, you know, and maybe it's not another night out for people, or I don't know. I think there's a lot in there that could be harvested, but now's the time to do it, right? This sort of 6-month window of getting back to things. So that, and I guess I'm moving to the third step, which is don't lose the liminal altogether. I mean, there's definitely a price we're paying for this 18 months, but despite that, there's some good stuff that happened in there. And now that we're out of our comfort zone, we've been out of it for a while, we're going to be out of it while we're getting back to whatever normal looks like. Let's take advantage of that and figure out what we can reinvent. So the point of the paper and the reason I enjoyed it, not just that it was short and easy to read, but it has a happy ending, which is these liminal experiences are incredibly potent for reinventing ourselves. And they're hard to create or manufacture. They do suggest that at the end too. Is there a way you can manufacture that kind of within the organization so that we do get this opportunity to disrupt ourselves? But since we've been disrupted, let's make lemonade out of lemons. Yeah, what is in there that we could keep? And spend some time thinking about that with your organization, with your music team, your management team. So I've included the source here, and then, there's a few other sort of interesting resources I found. The American Choral Association, Canadian Choral Association, they have a bunch of materials up there about sort of how to replan things. Some of these are during the pandemic, so hopefully we're out of that stage, but it was nice to see what other organizations are doing. Lionsgate's done a pretty good blog on hybrid solutions for a live art form if you're thinking about how to include your virtual members and your live members together. And then this SAI, a director toolkit, for those of you who are or are not directors, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of really good, where is that material? There it is. Up here, I don't know if you've had a look at it, but there's some encouraging things in there. There's resources for new directors, and I know that Region 1 has a number of new directors in play, or at least probably assistant directors or members who are helping their choruses along until they find new directors. There's some good resources there. There's some good articles about returning to live rehearsals, getting started, having virtual rehearsals, vocal warm-ups, and there's this section here that I liked about retraining the voice. Some video, basically they have curated a bunch of materials into one place for directors and choruses, just to help us have some resources for rehearsals or just for support. There's even these little videos in here. They're from directors like Pam Pyson that they all say the same thing, and it's something like "you are enough," or "you're okay," or "it's going to be okay," or so. Even if you just feel like that's what you need, there's a place in here. Anne Martin has put this together from West Coast Harmony, the baritone of Frenzy. She's a great light in our organization. So with a team of people like Ryan Heller, and so it's going to be a very positive resource. The breathing exercises in here, we're going to talk a bit about semi-occluded vocal tract work, which is really great for getting back into singing. I can't recommend it highly enough. So if you're trying to get back into singing, or if you had COVID, Alex, like you mentioned, there's some good information up here for guiding singers or guiding yourself through that from our faculty and from other YouTube sources. So lots of good stuff up here from Kim Newcomb, from Kathleen Hansen. So I put that link in the presentation as well, so you can find that. Because I don't know, I know we post these things on Facebook, we send them out in the director DCP newsletter, but I just don't know how much our members, you have to tell people 7 times, right? There's this material out there that could be helpful too. Okay. So we've had a long break, reconditioning the voice. So I think we need to start slowly, and we need to start talking to our membership about how we're going to just get ourselves back in shape. I know that we have all been singing during this time, but in my last session, I don't know if she's in this session, but one of the directors was saying it, was the first rehearsals were like, oh, whoa, we haven't done this for a long time. And it got better over time, but it's I think it's getting, for me, making the those projects for the cornet club, I have not been singing as much as I need to. So this is the kind of stuff I want to turn to so that I understand, so that I can just get myself back in shape safely. All these links are going to be in your, I'll make these handouts available to you as well. One of my favorite, so I just showed you the director toolkit. There's lots of good videos up there. The one from Kathleen Hansen on semi-occluded vocal tract exercises is very good. And when we say semi-occluded, it just means there's some back pressure on the vocal folds. It just helps to, because there's pressure coming this way. And when you create a bit of obstruction on this side of the vocal tract, there's pressure going back too, and it creates just a nice, relaxing, kind of a nice, gentle stretch for the folds. It's so things like bubbling, straw phonation. I think I forgot to bring my straw into my office, but if I had a straw and my glass of water, or just a straw to sing through, it creates a kind of a back pressure on the vocal folds. It's very soothing. So it's hard to hurt yourself doing that kind of work, but you can still explore range with it. You can explore volume with it. You can explore airflow with it. My favorite video is this Tom Burke one, but maybe only because I haven't. It was one of the earlier ones, and I haven't explored a ton of others because it's enough. His video, he just walks me through a few different exercises, and maybe we'll just watch a little bit of this one. And if you want to, because we have some time, we still have 15 minutes left. Why don't you, if you have a straw or something handy that you can buzz through, just grab one. Yeah, quickly grab one. Or yeah, you've got yours there, Wendy. Yeah, and a little water in a glass is nice too, actually. You can do it with or without, but let's just watch a little bit of Tom.
There's no sound, Corinna.
Oh, that's no good. Although you do, yeah, you'll need sound, won't you? Maybe I didn't share my. I'll just stop. And I will reshare. And I will share sound. There we go. I probably forgot to do that. All right.
Effectively to get a better voice. Using straws in voice training follows a very fancy topic called semi-occluded vocal tracts. You can certainly look that up. There's lots of research by Ingo Tietze, T-I-T-Z-E. If you look online, you'll see some great stuff about why this works. But today we're going to talk about how to use straws to get a better voice. Whether you are recovering from being sick or going through allergy season, or whether you want a quick warm-up. Essentially, when you're using a narrowing in the vocal tract, you can help decrease the effort at the level of the vocal folds. So it's a great way to kick your voice into gear. So first step is just to take your straw and fill a glass up with water about half full, because you'll see why in a couple seconds. And what I want you to do is just blow air into the water. So you're blowing bubbles. Like if you're a little kid blowing bubbles into chocolate milk. We used to do that all the time. So first step, you're going to blow air into the water. Just making bubbles. And then what I want you to do is see if you can alternate voiceless and voiced conditions without changing the bubbles. So you want to watch out for volcanoes. So watch this. If you do. Not. So if you're splashing yourself in the face, it's wrong. You're just going to go back and forth, alternating voiceless and voiced trials, and see if you can keep the airflow the same, keep the bubbles the same. You're essentially using the bubbles as a visual reference to make sure you're doing it the right way. If you can do that, then you're going to start to add little pitch glides. So you're going to do. Again, as you go higher, make sure you don't increase the bubbles. Try and keep everything the same. If you can do that, take the straw above the water and see if you can do the ripples at the same rate the whole time. So you're doing. And notice that the ripples of the water stop on the way up. You want to make sure you're keeping the airflow the whole time. If you can do that, then you're going to take it out. You're taking away the resistance of the water now and just putting your finger halfway over the hole. You're going to do. Try to decrescendo as you go up, essentially go quieter. Make sure you're not making any crazy faces either. You just want to keep that sense of airflow the whole time. If you can do that, take your finger away. You can keep your hand in front of the straw so you can make sure that you're still filling the air the whole time. If you're a teacher and you work with little kids, you can also put cotton balls out on the top of the piano and have them blow the cotton balls away while they're keeping their voice going. If you can do that, remove the straw and still try and direct your air into the straw from further away, like. It should sound like a flute or a kazoo or some other little kid's toy. Take that away now and just do like a kazoo sound. It's almost like if a V and a W had a baby. Try and go over the whole range as quietly as possible. And then if that feels great, start to integrate that into your song. I mean, you can just use simple nursery rhymes or some like very basic songs in your speech range at first.
So you get the idea anyways. My favorite line is like a V and a W had a baby. I don't know why. I think that line's funny. Did any of you try that? I can't see you anymore. I lost you. I'm going to come back and look at you so I can see you. I'm sitting in the sunshine here. Did any of you try any of that while he was doing it? How does your voice feel after doing it? Yeah, I find it usually feels super open. And when I do start to sing, and what we would do in in Lionsgate, we use this a lot, is we would bubble into the water gently and then sing and then bubble and then sing, like alternating the phrases. And it's always shocking how much more resonance is available, because although he's working through a lot of range, and he sort of showed you a progression, so you could start with one progression for 5 minutes in one day and then move on to the others, is how much freedom you feel in this area of your instrument. It's open. It feels open and relaxed and free. It's really satisfying. And it's really good if you speak for a living, if you're a teacher or something, a couple of minutes just sort of bubbling into your water glass really relieve your voice a lot too. Give you a lot more resonance and connect your voice to your air. So there's a lot of value in that too. So I like that video a lot, but there is so much information up there now about semi-occluded vocal tract work, that including on that director resource kit site from Sweet Adeline's. Kathleen Hansen's video is really excellent, and Kim Newcomb's video as well, both faculty members. So I would explore that for your warm-ups, for your, I'm going to share my screen again. For your chorus warm-ups, and teach your chorus members or turn them on to these different resources that are available for them to try working with these techniques at home, just to make sure they're not getting tired during rehearsal, or use it during little breaks in rehearsal, when you're between songs, or if you have to go outdoors to clear the room partway through rehearsal, like we do here, then, that might be a nice parking lot activity, or people do just like to socialize, so, and we need to provide time for that too. So that's one thing, that type of work I think would be really great for rehabilitating our voices. This is another one that I really love, because this is maybe, and I credit Jean Barford for teaching this to me in an IES class, but it's actually also a well-known technique, and I should have written down what it's called, but I've forgotten. Vocal function. vocal function exercises. If you Google that, and here's the thing, you know, back in the day, back when I learned this from Jean, there was no internet, so I wasn't able to Google all this stuff. So I feel like the whole world has opened up for our singers in the last 20 years. I mean, we can teach ourselves a lot, or bring things to our groups that we learn or get a clue about in the internet, and then find somebody who's educated in the area. But this exercise takes about 15 minutes. Jean said, do it twice a day. I never managed to do it twice a day, but if I did it once a day, I was really happy. And when I was in Brava, which is like the 1990s, we used to do this as a group, or we used to kind of compete with each other a little bit. And Elaine, our baritone, of course, made us this wonderful spreadsheet, and we would record, we would track our results in the spreadsheet, and then we would calculate our averages just to see if we were improving. So this is another exercise. You do it very quietly, very gently. There's no big louds in it, but it is about connecting, making sure that you're connecting the air, and it's sort of a gentle stretch for the folds as well. And it helped. This is how I learned to do hangers, really, was to get that feeling of how long could my air last? How long did I have air? So the warm up, and we can all do this together because we're on Zoom, and you can just mute yourself and do it. Is the first one is we're going to go on an F. Sorry, we're going to say E on an F, but we're going to do it really, really quietly, and we're going to see how far we can get. The goal is 45 seconds, which, believe it or not, you can do over time. You can see I'm not doing that this day, but here we go. So E, really quiet, and try not to have any breaks in the sound. So figure out what you need to relax, straighten up your instrument, and just I'm breaking up, and I'm not out of air. So I might keep going through that. You keep going through, you can just get back in after your breaks, or you can do it again, but you do everything twice. So we would do that twice. Let's do it one more time. And you're going to time it and write down your time at the end of it. Here we go. And I like to move things around and just try to figure out, okay, what's going on in there. But it's pretty quiet and pretty clear. And the E is nice because it creates that clarity. And then, like I said, you know, write down my time. So I did a little better the second time than the first time. Then I'm going to do a couple glides. The first one is just to glide up on an O from your lowest note to your highest notes. We can all do this one together too. Just start anywhere that's low for you, really quiet, as softly as possible, with as few breaks as possible. So if you find that your goal is not to have voice breaks, if you find you're having voice breaks, then look for something that needs to relax. And it might not be in here. It might be your jaw. It might be you're holding your forehead really high. It might be your shoulders need to relax. But so a nice straight posture, and then from the bottom, glide up on a note. And then I'm going to break right there because I have not been doing any warm-ups. But just see how high you go. You do that twice, and then you do the opposite. So we'll go from the top down on an O, nice and quiet. Try to find things to relax, align your instrument. Anyway, right down to the gravel. And then I would just put check marks for those. And then this one, it takes longer, but this one, you start on C, D, E, F, G, and on O, you just hold those for as long as you can, and then you check the time on those. So let's do the C. And it's really quiet. Again, no strain, no stretch, but do just look for little places of tension. Get a nice full air. And I like to try to not use the, get that nice feeling of fullness on your breath and then maintain it for as long as you can. I tend to be right at the very end before I start tapping what's going on down in my abdomen, or like lifting it for any kind of air. I just keep it nice and keep a feeling of fullness for as long as you can. On oh, oh. And then just keep looking for places where you might have tension. If you have to, just sit up a little taller. We should be standing for this. Keeping the ribs maintained. And then at the very end, you can start to roll up a little bit if you need just that little bit more support, until you have like a break that you're really not going to recover from, and then write down that time. The goal is 45 seconds. That will make you dizzy at the beginning, but over time, it gets better. What I really like about these exercises is you can't hurt yourself. It does focus you on your breath support, and it taught me anyways, that I had way more air than I thought. Once I got tension out of the way, whether that tension is here or in my tongue or my jaw, or whether it was even how I was using my rib cage, just making sure I maintain that feeling of fullness and just use the roll up, out of desperation, really. I don't want to use it at all. Then this, I think my greatest growth as a singer was from actually doing this. And so we know a lot of things that we should do, but when we actually do them, it's incredible how impactful they can be. And I found these very impactful. So they're called vocal function exercises, and you can Google all kinds of things. But this little chart, make yourself a little spreadsheet. You'll be amazed at what you see these numbers turn into after, say, 2 weeks of doing these, and also what you learn about your body and how it's managing breath. Any
Corinna, there's a
questions?
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question is the power exercise done on one breath?
Yes. Oh no, not all 5 notes. No. So you do C twice. See how I've written them down separately. So there's C once, C twice, D once, D twice, E once, E twice. Yeah. So same as those. This is kind of the warm up here, where you do the E twice, then you glide up, glide down, and then this is the rehearsal, the 5. That answer the question? So each of these lines is done on one breath. Yes. Yeah. When your voice breaks, you don't inhale and start again. When your voice breaks, just try to relax something and get it to go again. So it's all the same breath. I wouldn't inhale in that break. Okay. So those are the vocal function exercises. Highly recommend. There's some other cool things that are available, and I had forgotten about this, but it was announced a little while ago when Darlene and Sharon Babb passed away. Peggy and Dale donated the Blue Ribbon vocal warm-ups to the organization. So as a member of Sweet Adelines, you can download that whole CD here. So it's up on the international website. And I love this CD for warming up. I used to warm up with it all the time when it was new, and that was probably the late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere around there. So definitely go check that out. It's got a good assortment of easy warm-ups, especially the earlier tracks, the first few tracks, and then they take you through the mid-range. Peggy does a great bass warm-up. Charla, who was the tenor of Rumors, she does some really soothing tenor voice warm-ups. I as a tenor, I really like these warm-ups. One of them was it's just so zen. I think the minor flavor of it, and I felt like I could go very high and still stay relaxed singing with her. So that I definitely recommend. If you Google singing after a long period of time or reconditioning the voice or anything, there's lots of, I liked this guy's exercises, so I included that one. And he gave some advice about, you know, as you're starting back into singing, it's a lot of common sense, right? Sing at a medium volume, you know, don't go straight to the extremes. Again, in choosing music that you're going to rehearse in your early together rehearsals, choose stuff that we can be successful at as we are reconditioning or reinventing and refocusing on our vocal skills. Limit the, manage the rehearsal time. You know, I don't know if it's a good idea to sing for 3 hours straight without a break, like maybe some of us did before we had this whole experience. So any time of day is a good time to sing for your singers who are working at home, you know, when they get up in the morning. That's just as good a time as before bed or for working through some of these exercises. But I'm not going to take you through that video, but I'll just leave it there for you to watch if you like. The thing I liked about his approach was he also used bubbling, which is that semi-occluded vocal, but he used it through more range. So mum 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 mum. Humming is another kind of way to semi-occlude. I liked his progression. So these kind of go in order. The semi-occluded vocal tract stuff at the beginning is the gentlest. Those vocal function are equally gentle, but they start to take you through a bit of range, at least with the sweeps. And then the third one is more sort of your regular vocal exercises, but with a focus on, at least in the Power of Voice, the second video there, focus on recovery. So the kinds of vowels and the kinds of consonants that you use are going to be the gentler ones. So a few ideas about improving your vocal skills, you know, do personal rehearsal, encourage your singers to do that, find some interesting projects for them to do. You know, maybe you have a group spreadsheet and people can put their times in there or something, I don't know, without creating too much peer pressure that's going to turn people off. But or just give them some good tools that they can work with on their own. Ask for 15 minutes a day. They'll be so happy they did it because they'll be able to sing so much more of the repertoire easily in the phrases. Singing lessons, PBIs, you know, these are things we can do on Zoom now too. We've probably gotten good at those. So, you know, maybe there's a way to do it with, even if there's distance, you know, between you and chorus members or directors and chorus members that, or music team members who teach them. Or people like Kim Vaughn or any Kathleen Hansen, all those faculty members who teach, you can actually, you have access to them now that we're all good at Zoom. You might want to focus on coaches who are vocal specialists in the early days. And then, like I said, the internet is a place where you can actually find true stuff. So, you know, Google the vocal topics you're interested in, warm-up recordings, we've got some good free ones, small group work, and then singing daily, just for short periods of time. I think that's going to be important for a little while for us right now. I think it was always important, but now it might seem more important. Any questions about any of those exercises or any of that, or anything you want to share?
Thank you, Corinna. This has been great. Lots of good information.
Tools. I like tools. Yeah. And I like to know I'm not the only one going through stuff. All right. Have you had a good day today? Yeah. Good region.